Hey professionals! So I went from being this underpaid, overworked freelancer to running a six-figure video production agency, and this transformation basically happened in a matter of 4 months by changing one simple principle, which was going from project-based pricing to subscription-based pricing. And it's not just me, numerous other creatives are having their revenue grow dramatically, and here's what's even crazier, even though the customers are paying more, they've never been more satisfied. But most video creators don't understand why customers pay so much for a subscription service, how DaVinci Resolve gives us an unfair advantage, or how to even start crafting an offer for a subscription-based service. So in this video, I'm going to be going through several concepts that really helped me get over these hurdles and launch my business using a subscription as a service model. And the first thing we need to understand is how a service subscription pricing is different from project pricing and how that will then transform your business into something much easier to scale. So you're probably familiar with project-based pricing. Basically, you agree to do something for someone, you do it, and they pay you. It's a very simple transactional relationship. But there's a huge amount of problems with project-based pricing. Let's say you're trying to sell a video project that takes 8 hours to do. To sell it, there's a meeting, back and forth emails, and after maybe another 8 hours of cumulative communications, you close the deal. So the overall time spent has been 16 hours, but the client really only values that 50% of the work. On top of this, most of this development and understanding you built in those meetings is thrown away once the project is done. Yes, usually the client does come back for another project or 3, but time has passed. It's a different problem, new solution, so we have to do most of these conversations all over again. So problem 1 with project is time wasted in sales and admin. Now, don't get me wrong, project-based pricing can be very lucrative. Some months I was making 3 times the revenue I needed, but because I was so busy that month, I wasn't loading up my next clients the following months, and I would literally make nothing. So I'd have this vicious cycle of huge months followed by broke months, and my head was just always in turmoil and stress because I didn't know what the future was bringing. Changing your services from project-based pricing to subscription-based pricing literally flips that script, and it does something even more to help you scale your business. So when you go to close a client for a subscription service, you're not worried if the sales conversation is going to take hours, days, or weeks, because what you're selling them is something so much bigger than a project. It's a lifetime service. While a project maybe nets you X dollars, a subscription service will net you slightly less X dollars this month, but over the average service lifetime, these accumulate to a much bigger and substantial sale. And guess what? It doesn't matter how big the service is, it usually takes the same amount of time to close a small deal compared to a big deal. So the admin and sales fees are a substantial less percentage with subscriptions, meaning more valuable work is getting done. On top of this, your income becomes far more steady, reliable, and best of all, predictable. And I'm going to cover some really powerful benefits to predictable income in how it allows you to charge higher prices and work less time later in this video. But before we get there, we need to start talking about how this affects a client, because you can't sell a subscription-based service just thinking about your own benefits. You'll end up stinking clients away with bad commission breath. So the next concept to understand is why subscription services are more valuable to your clients, because if you don't know what makes them valuable, you won't be able to design a service that commands a higher price. So there's 2 hyper valuable concepts I've discovered in my journey to selling subscription services. I know we're all DaVinci Resolve editors here. A lot of us are here because we are sick of subscription models, but subscription services are fundamentally different. When you buy a classic subscription like Netflix or Adobe, you have access to everything until you stop paying, and then you have access to nothing, and they'll gate you away from anything you were working on. If you're halfway through a series, too bad. Halfway through a project, too bad. But the subscription service model is different. Your client has access to all your services until they stop paying. So that's the same, but all the assets and results produced during the subscription, that client gets to keep forever. So the service subscription model provides all the convenient benefits of being able to start and stop easily, and none of the downsides of traditional subscription models. The client owns what's produced even if they stop paying. And this is an extremely valuable upsell to businesses. Social media has been around for 19 years, but it's only in the last 4 or so that businesses have been taking it seriously. This means there's no guidebook or easy way to get started. Businesses take on a lot of risk starting social media. There's buying equipment, hiring new talent, or training existing staff to now have that talent. The marketers also have to get together and come up with a strategy. And they're shooting in the dark because, again, this is all still new. So businesses have very vague ideas of what, if any, results they'll get. So if you come in with this super easy subscription service, they know what they're paying each month. They don't have to buy any upfront expenses. And if the customer learns their business doesn't suit social media marketing, it's easy for them to stop the subscription. So not only are you making it less risky for them to jump in, you're allowing them to go in bolder, bigger, and not have to take on all this responsibility and actually see if it's something worthwhile. So it's this combination of not having to have all this upstart risk and costs, and also the absolute convenience of being able to start and stop, that really makes these subscription services seem so valuable to clients, and they are. But that's not all. There's a second high value concept which gets into the relationship transformation between you as the service provider and the client. For this, I want to run you through an exercise where you pretend to be the client. Who would you rather work with? Professional one, where if you wanted to get a job done with them, you'd have to get on a 1-hour phone call with them and send 10 back and forth emails before they'll even agree to start working on a job, and that's if they're within price. Or a professional who provides an easy portal, takes 5 minutes to fill out a form, you already know what they cost, and they're going to get to work that week, maybe even tomorrow. Now, on top of this, the service provider with the portal works with you every month. They know the ins and outs, the nuances of your business. You don't need to explain your company brand, who the target clients are. They just know, like they're reading your mind. As dramatic as that difference is, that's exactly what it feels like for clients. Subscription-based services turns a transactional service into a relational service. It gives customers a peace of mind, convenience, and a completely frictionless relationship, which ultimately means that you, as a professional charging a subscription service, are way more valuable just by being more convenient and easy to work with, which allows you to charge higher prices for the same work. And it does more than that too. With project-based pricing, you and the client are at odds in this really weird way. You're thinking, how can I get the job done the fastest? And your client's thinking, how do I get as much from you as cheap as possible? Both of you have a focus around the transaction. But with a subscription service, the transaction's already been finalized, the money and the scope is already locked in, meaning both you and the client stop thinking about transactions and are instead focusing on how can we produce the best results with what we have. Every month in a subscription service, you get to look back with your client and go, how can we work better together? And one of the easiest ways to start creating a more frictionless relationship is using the Blackmagic Presentations Cloud feature. This tool allows you and your customer to leave notes on video edits that automatically sync to DaVinci Resolve's timeline. This provides an easy and convenient portal for communication and feedback. But one of the concerns that comes up with creating subscription-based services is having downtime. What happens if you want to go on a holiday, visit a relative in another city, or just whatever else makes you unavailable to work? The clients are still expecting the work to be done. Now, you could get ahead of this by setting client expectations. You could say something like, hey, December is Christmas holidays, so let's split the work between November and January and take that month off. But that adds a lot of stress on those 2 other months and reduces the convenience for your client, meaning they will value your service less. On top of this, if you get sick or there's a family emergency, you want to have the freedom to be able to drop everything and go. Well, thankfully, there is a really efficient solution around this. And remember where I talked about predictable incomes earlier in this video? Well, let's address some advantages this brings, plus how using DaVinci Resolve as the editor gives you this completely unique advantage compared to anyone else out there. And I'm talking about cloud collaborations. When I started charging subscriptions, I went, oh, I have X thousand dollars coming in this month, and the next month, and the next month, and the next month. I've got all this predictable work coming in, so why don't I get someone to help me? I know I can afford it, so let's buy some time back. When you start knowing what's coming in from the future, it means you can start preparing for it early. I knew I had X dollars coming in next month, so in advance, I contracted a freelance assistant editor to buy myself some time back. This also meant if I got sick or I wanted a holiday, I still had someone who could do the work and helps me even out that pressure. So not only did selling a subscription service lead to bigger sales, but I was spending less time doing the work and had far less stress in my day-to-day operations. So the major opportunity from subscriptions isn't just the higher prices you'll charge, it's the predictability and stability it gives your business, which allows you to play smarter games. Now, if you're curious about setting up a subscription service, it's important to have reliable cloud features for collaborations and client conveniences. But there's a huge amount of stuff that can go wrong setting up cloud collaboration workflows. So you should watch this video here where I go through my favorite remote setup from software, hardware, even the dangers you have to look out for. And apart from that, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I absolutely love making these videos and I love seeing how much the community is growing around them. It's such a pleasure as always. And until then, I'll catch you around.